Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 245, The Decisive Battle in the Uninhibited Demon-Infested Shinjuku, Part 17, opens with Kinji Hikari versus Uraume. The two sorcerers are jumping through the residential area. This fight of theirs has taken Uraume pretty far away from their boss, Sukuna. They're done just trading blows with this punk. Uraume puts a hand in front of their mouth, readying a familiar technique. Hikari tenses. He can already sense what's coming. Uraume throws out a massive frost calm the size of a building at Hikari. It is super cooled cursed energy, the most potent ice sorcery technique out there. The sheer weight of the ice is almost enough to force Hikari out of the sky. It started to cover his arm, freezing it solid. Trying to capitalize on this, Uraume charges in, fist raised. They punch right through the ice, shattering it into tiny pieces. The brutal force of this impact rips away Hikari's frozen arm, splintering it into tiny bits of ice. Uraume is convinced that the fight is over and starts to charge up a second frost calm to finish things off. But before they can use the technique a second time, their eyes go wide as a newly formed arm reaches out towards them. Kinji Hikari grabs the ancient sorcerer by the face and pile drives him through an entire apartment block. Uraume forms a great shard of ice, just about managing to recover. They're on the back foot now. Hikari's reverse curse technique lets him heal faster than even Sukuna and Gojo can. This time, Uraume's ready for Hikari's attack, easily seeing him approach. But before the fighters can land another blow, Uraume launches that shard of ice right through his torso. And it does nothing. He doesn't even slow down. Hikari just keeps running forward, grinning as the gas heals over. Uraume's starting to get frustrated. How do you fight a guy who ignores every attack? This has gone from Jujutsu sorcery to pro wrestling. Hikari's close enough to get another hit in, kicking the shocked Uraume right in the side of their torso. Trying to counter, the ice sorcerer grabs Hikari's leg, freezing it solid. But Hikari is still grinning. Uraume's shocked as they realize their ice isn't enough to stop the other sorcerer. Hikari loses a leg, but regrows one immediately, kicking Uraume right in the jaw as it does. The impact throws Uraume through multiple walls. There's enough of a break in the fight for Hikari to hop through the rubble and finally find his lost footwear. Uraume admitted to misjudging Hikari. The old sorcerer has begun covering the ground in a sheet of ice. He spoke of modern sorcerers being obsessed with staying human. Uraume's used to this generation holding themselves back for the sake of not breaking things. He blamed the human fear of being alone for the weakness of many. A bunch of geysers roared up from the ground beneath Uraume, spraying water everywhere. Hikari smiles at the move. The ancient sorcerer broke the area's water pipes by freezing them solid. Now they've got an overwhelming amount of material for their curse technique. This battle just escalated. Uraume says that Hikari isn't like most modern sorcerers. He doesn't hold back. So from now on, the ancient sorcerer won't think of him as a human. They're going to go all out and crush their rival with the full extent of their power. Hikari steps forward into the water and wet debris. He's amused by Uraume's speech. He's just heard Yuta going on about something pretty similar. He's never been a fan of Yuta's style, but the younger sorcerer is there when it counts. He's done enough to make Hikari respect him. And now with Uraume saying the same stuff, it's getting him fired up. He's loving this and is hyped for their massive fight. Uraume narrows his eyes. Even with an advantage, this battle won't be easy. Back inside Deadly Sentencing, Higuruma, Yuji, and Sukuna are all facing each other. Judge Man is reading out the charges. Higuruma explains the domain to Sukuna, going over the rules just like he did with Itadori. He opens up the evidence packet as he talks. It's the exact same one he got last time Judge Man tried this crime. The information on Sukuna possessing Itadori and everything he's done. Higuruma is already turning over the arguments in his head. It took skill to pull off the Shibuya massacre. The only way Sukuna's got a chance of escaping this is if he pleads insanity or tries to argue that he's now at a point where he can't be criminally charged. Higuruma was sure that the death penalty would be enforced otherwise. He gets back to explaining how the evidence works, but Sukuna interrupts. He's already bored of this. He heard all of these rules last time when he was possessing Yuji. The only part of Higuruma's domain that interests him is the sword. He doesn't care enough to try and play along with the trial or argue about what he did. Trying to act like he's innocent is not his style. Sukuna just wants the lawyer to end the trial. So Judge Man does, reading out the sentence immediately. Guilty. And the sentence is exactly what they were after. Confiscation with the death penalty. But Sukuna is grinning. He wanted this. Now, a bunch of fans were digging through Japanese law to find some kind of loophole for Sukuna. Instead, this madman never planned on defending his actions in the first place. One of you guys said that Mahoraga was probably speedrunning law school, and I could not stop laughing. The courtroom fades out, returning Sukuna, Yuji, and Higuruma to Shinjuku. And just like before, the cross on Higuruma's gavel glows bright. Sukuna is still smiling, excited to test himself. The executioner's sword is back in play. Higuruma takes a moment to think it all over. Sukuna lost a lot of the 10 Shadows Shikigami fighting Gojo. He may have lost the technique outright. If he has, then confiscation probably hit Malevolent Shrine. If Sukuna can't use a curse technique, and his opponent has an insta-kill blade, this is an automatic win. Even with a ton of raw strength and cursed energy, one touch with the Executioner's sword ends this. This is their best shot at victory. All the strongest sorcerers allied with Jujutsu High are going to join the fight at once, helping Higuruma get close. One shot is all it's going to take for them to win, so it makes sense to throw all they can at Sukuna now. But before the fight starts, Higuruma's mind flashes with a bleak message. Does he have a death wish? The lawyer opens his eyes wide, shocked. He just realized something only he and Sukuna had picked up on. Even as Kusakabe comes up to join him and the other sorcerers clamor over the wreckage, another web of cuts from Malevolent Shrine flies out at the sorcerers. Kusakabe jumps out in front of Higuruma, taking the worst of Sukuna's first attack. Higuruma thinks back to Sukuna's cursed tool, the Kamutoke. It's gone now. That's what went wrong. If the target has a cursed weapon, confiscation would be applied to that instead of the cursed technique. That just made this a lose-lose situation. Even if Sukuna had lost 10 shadows, he had 2 methods of fighting back. Higuruma could only ever take one. This fight's not over just yet, but it just got way tougher than Jujutsu High could have ever expected. And this result has upset a lot of people. Some are saying that Sukuna's plot armor, not the good kind obviously, is getting out of hand. At this point, it seems like Sukuna only ever had Kamutoke for the sake of it being taken away here instead of his curse technique. But I've gotta blame Jujutsu High a bit for being dumb here. Against the 2 biggest threats in the culling game, Kenjaku and Sukuna, they sent 2 scrubs who are totally new to Jujutsu. What they've done with Takaba and Higuruma is the equivalent of giving 2 total noobs the best weapon in the game and expecting them to beat the final bosses on their first try. And you could argue that they are being backed up by Yuji, the main character of the series, and Yuta, the main character of the previous series, but still. They're also expecting Yuta to pull up immediately after taking down Kenjaku as if he's a scrub too. There are tons of holes in this plan of theirs. Personally, I'm not really a fan of characters winning when their opponents aren't at their best. I think we can leave that to My Hero Academia. Seeing the King of Curses be nerfed for the sake of the good guys getting the win isn't really cool to me on paper. But at the same time, if it were earned on some Phoenix Wright level courtroom shenanigans and then capitalized on, that would be pretty awesome. But you know, we haven't seen everything Sukuna's power can do, so taking it away so soon would be a bit wasteful. Even if the whole slicing thing is way too broken and it seemed like Higuruma was being set up as the only way to restrict it. But it is weird to me that Sukuna was pretty much able to go into the courtroom with a loaded gun, and they only took it away after he was deemed guilty. The weapon also had nothing to do with the crime in question. And the fact that Sukuna saw through Higuruma's domain and understood it better than him is really weird, noob or not. Listen guys, if the next chapter starts off with a flashback from Higuruma, read no further, that boy is dead. And Sukuna just traded Kamutoke for the strongest weapon imaginable. If he applies the one-hit kill feature to his cleave and dismantle, I have no idea how anyone would ever be able to beat him. Fingers crossed this is all for some super setup big brain tactic that brings us back to peak cleverness and writing. Clearly this is a controversial one, so I want to know what you guys are thinking and how you're feeling about all this. If nothing else, I don't think this was the most satisfying outcome. Even if this ultimately needed to be the result for the sake of events to come, I do think it could have been better handled to make it more acceptable. I can't help but feel like all the talking in the last chapter was a waste of time since we didn't really get the trial at all. It is great to subvert expectations, but not just for the sake of going off the rails and confusing the audience. Right now, Sukuna is starting to feel like endgame Madara. So how long until Kaguya shows up? As always, I'm Botaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.